Hi there. Welcome to the 2022 Business Expense Workshop. My name is Chris Andale, and I'm the founder of the Yard Card Association. Today, we are going to dive into the most popular expense categories and a few tax time preparation tips. So let's get started. Before we actually dive in, let me just tell you a little bit about myself. The Yard Card Association started back in July 2020, and it was out of a necessity because we have so many brand new entrepreneurs in the industry starting businesses because of the pandemic. And so I've done business coaching for many, many years, and it was time to figure out how to scale that and be able to provide more value to more people. We needed an association for our industry, and the Yard Card Association was born. So anyway, let's dive in and let's see if we can help you learn just a few things about business expenses and getting yourself ready for tax time. The first thing I actually want to mention is that I am not a tax professional. I'm not a CPA. I don't work for any sort of financial firm. This is just information I have learned on my own through either my own experiences or through learning online, different courses that I have taken. I actually read over on the IRS website. And so a lot of the information I provide here to you is from there. And you'll see that when I start sharing my screen for you. All right, so now we're actually going to get to it, and I'm going to start in by sharing my screen. So hang tight. All right, are you ready? Let's go. We are going to start first by showing you our business expense guide. This is what our training is all around. And you'll be able to get your own copy of this, and I'll share a link to that here at the end of our training, and you'll be able to just download that. All right, the first thing you're going to want to do is get organized. That's so important. You can't do anything until you get organized. What do you need to do? There's three for sure things you need to do. Number one, get your bank statements together. Number two, get your credit card statements together. And number three, get your credit card merchant processing reports together. Now, there could be a number four for you. If you've got any other place you have financial transactions, go ahead and get that information together as well. Well, how do you need to get it? Make sure you download this information as a CSV file. What is that? It's simply a spreadsheet file. And that way you're going to be able to manipulate and sort this information so that you don't have to do this all manually, old school, with pen and paper, or literally just doing it all really monotonous work. So when you have this in either a Google Sheet or Excel spreadsheet, you're going to be able to work and save yourself so much time and headache. You don't need to know how to do that quite yet, but you do need to get the files downloaded. So that's super important. Now, for your bank statements, there's two things. Hopefully you have a business only checking account. If you do not, that's a whole other conversation we need to have. But either way, you need to download wherever your business transactions are. If you are combining your personal and business, then you're going to have an extra homework assignment of going through every single transaction and sorting it out and making sure it's a business transaction. And again, make sure you have a CSV file. The thing to do with these is to get them together. And when you open them, if you don't have Excel, you can open it in Google Sheets. It's free. Or you can use Office 365 and use Excel over there. When you have this open, one thing I want to advise you to do is immediately save a copy. You want to make sure you have your originals, and then you'll have your copy to manipulate and sort and mess around with. But if something happens, you'll still have your original safe and sound and untouched. What I recommend doing is starting an additional Excel or Google sheet that's going to be a combination where you're going to be able to bring this data in together. When you get in there, you can go through some additional trainings through either Google or Microsoft on how to sort, S-O-R-T, how to use the data feature and then sort your information. But before you get to that, I want to make sure that you know about the categories you're going to need and you're going to assign to every single one of your business transactions. Once you have the categories assigned, life gets so much better. Now, if you use a credit card for your business transactions, most of the time, a lot of those transactions already get a category assigned to them. Make sure you're on the lookout and review those and make sure it's the right categories. So sometimes they'll call things a little bit different. They might call it food and drink or a meal expense, whereas your bank statement might call it a restaurant, or they might not have one at all. Different credit card companies call them a little bit of different things. So food and drink and restaurant, it's going to be the same category. Ultimately, it's just you're going to decide what you want to call it. Okay, next up is then going to be your credit card merchant processors, right? If you're using Square, Stripe, PayPal, or another legitimate business processor, then they're going to have reports. There's two things you're going to need off of the report when you're getting your information together. You're going to need to know your gross sales, that's your revenue, how much money customers paid you. This is before any expenses, what the customers actually paid you. And then you're going to need to know how much money did you pay in credit card fees. So each one of these processors has a nice little tab where you'll be able to see how much money you paid just in credit card fees for the year. Side note, this is so important that you treat your business with legitimacy and give your customers that protection and let them know you value them as a customer and you want to build a relationship with them. That's part of what having a legitimate credit card processor does for your business. And the reason that you need this number, this fee, whatever the total is tax deductible. So you're actually not even out the money that you might think you're out initially. You're really not, because you get to deduct it on your taxes. So it's a business expense, but it's also deductible. Okay, now if you're using other forms of financial transactions, that's going to be something for you to also dig into. But for this purpose, we've got these three things, and I want to make sure you get those: your bank statements, any credit card statements, and then your credit card merchant processing reports. Remember, you need your gross revenue, and then you need your credit card fees that you paid. All right. I hope that this is helpful so far, and I am going to go ahead and keep going through here for you. Here we go. We're going to dive in to the categories now. Are you ready for this? Okay, I'm going to enlarge this so that we can see it a little bit better. Here we go. Woo! How's that, everybody? Hopefully that's all right and you can see this. So first up, I have taken this directly from the IRS Schedule C, but then also there's other business expenses that you should be tracking. And so we're using those together to come up with everything. Regardless of if something is a deduction, you're going to have business expenses, and you should know where every penny of your business money is going. It's going one of two places: either in your pocket, that's called profit, or it's going to somebody else's profit, right? Okay, so first up, we've got advertising and promotion. There's so much that gets involved, that's involved in advertising, right? And there's things that you might not think of. The most obvious things are things like Facebook ads. Back in the day, we used to run Yellow Pages ads. Yes, I'm dating myself there on that. But those are obvious because they're straightforward advertisements. But then there's things like business cards. How about your website? When you buy your domain name, yardcardbusiness.com, that is an advertising expense because you need your website in order for customers to get to it, and it's advertising your business. If you have an email marketing service, let's say you're using my favorite one, MailerLite, then that service, I pay $10 a month for it. That's an advertising expense. I'll show you some others as we move along. I'm going to go through some of the lists a little bit quicker on some things. If you are paying for your business bank account and you pay a monthly fee, guess what? That's tax deductible. Now, when we get over here to car and truck expenses, first of all, this needs to be a business expense, for business use only. But that's a whole other training, and I'm not going to dive into that, but you are going to be able to deduct business mileage, parking, tolls, some licensing and registration fees. Sometimes some of that can come off as well. Okay, and then here we are. We're going to talk about the credit card merchant processing fees right there. Simple, simple. Now, let's say you're one of the Yard Card Association business coaching students. Right here, that is also tax deductible. How great is that? And then let's say that you also met with a Facebook ads expert and had a consultation. That's also deductible. It could be that you went and met with a QuickBooks advisor on how in the world to do this. There you go. That's a consulting service. Next up, contract labor. Is there anybody that's worked for you that is not an employee? This happens most of the time in our industry where you're hiring somebody else, not as an employee, but they are coming to help you. This is when you'll need to issue a 1099. When you do that, it's now tax deductible. I'm not going to get into 1099s super deep, but basically, if you pay somebody $600 or more in wages, in service fees, then for them to doing work for you, then you're required to issue a 1099. Now, this could have changed based on tax time changes year to year. So make sure you look up what is eligible and what your requirements are for your purposes. What happens there is you'll issue the 1099, but then you're able to deduct that amount on your taxes. And so that's what that category is for contract labor. What that also means, just FYI, is that the person that you issued the 1099 for, if it's over $600, they are required to legally pay it on their own income tax. There's a lot that goes into contract labor versus employee. And so that's something definitely dive into if you're not really sure how you're treating any of the team that works for you. All right, next up, we've got dues and memberships and subscriptions. All right, so this is where if you are one of our Yard Card Association members, guess what? Your entire membership due is tax deductible. Bam, right there. Not only are you getting huge value in all of the trainings and the accountability and the coaching, you're also getting to deduct it on your taxes. Now, you might also have some other subscriptions, let's say Canva for designing, Adobe, QuickBooks, all kinds of things like that. It would go right there. Now, next up is education. Did you attend a workshop? This could be online. You might be someone who took one of our Yard Card Association courses. That's deductible right here under education. Did you buy a book that's for business? Boom, it's tax deductible here on education. Okay, and then next up, home office. That is a huge, huge topic, and you're going to want to be super careful when you dive into whether you have a qualified home office or not. And I've got a link somewhere in the guide when you get it that helps you go to the information to see if you qualify for a home office deduction. It's super important that you figure out a way to do this because the deduction is fantastic, but there are specific requirements for it. Okay, next up, business insurance. I am really hoping that everybody has business insurance. And guess what? It's tax deductible. Okay, next up, interest. Are you paying finance charges on something that you are financing? Guess what? That interest is also deductible. Just make sure that you read the fine print on that you're doing it properly. Are you paying for bookkeeping services? Or did you maybe get an attorney to write some agreements or some terms and conditions or some policies for you? Maybe they did the work and filed some other legal documents for you. That's where this is tax deductible. I also highly recommend getting a bookkeeper of some sort, whether it's monthly or even once a year. And again, it's tax deductible. Okay, the next one, meals and entertainment. This one used to be what was so-called a red flag for taxes because it's so easy to write off a meal that maybe isn't really a business expense. The IRS has actually changed that deduction a bit. And so it used to be a 50% rule. It is now for 2021 and 2022 a 100% deduction. So I want you to go and read about the requirements on that and make sure each of your meals is deductible. Next, office expenses. These are going to be some super basic things. Did you buy postage stamps? Maybe you send out postcards to your customers. Well, the postcards themselves would be an advertising expense, but the postage is an office expense. If you're buying staples and paper clips and notebooks and clipboards, there's a lot of things that go into office expenses. Okay, next, rent and leases. Are you renting a storage facility? Maybe you're actually renting a vehicle. Or leasing a vehicle. Anything that you're renting, maybe you're leasing a vinyl cutter. There's all kinds of different things, but the most popular for us is storage space that's being rented. Repairs and maintenance. Is there anything that you've had to pay for your business to get repaired? Supplies. This is a huge one because in our industry, we have so many supplies. Let's think about the fence stakes. Let's think about regular stakes. You might even consider your inventory supplies. When it comes to inventory, there's a couple of different things you can do. You can use it as depreciation, where you're going to take it and decide how long do you think your inventory is going to last, and then you can depreciate it year after year after year. It's more complicated, but you end up with more financial deductions off of it for future years. Or you can expense it out through the supplies category. There's pros and cons to both, and I am not the right girl to help you with depreciation, but you are going to need to know how long the shelf life is for the signs. Not all signs are created equally. Some are going to last longer. Some are going to be really quick and they're not going to last a year. So you've got to decide on the quality of the inks and the corrugated plastic and how long you think it's going to last. For your steaks should be lasting much longer than a year. Okay, next up, taxes, licenses, and business permits. Yes, all of that is tax deductible. Did you go out and get an LLC? Guess what? That money you spent for the filing is tax deductible. Are you paying your sales tax? If you're in a state that requires you to pay sales tax, guess what? That's also tax deductible. Did your locality require some sort of business permit, or your state? That is also a tax deduction. The thing on any of these, and let's see, we've also got travel. Did you travel to a conference? Maybe you traveled for a workshop. Maybe you traveled to go meet up with somebody in another city or a state. Maybe you traveled to buy signs from somebody. That travel, if let's say you got a hotel room, that's deductible. All right. I don't know if you'll have utilities. If you have a separate place, you will have utilities. Or if you did pay somebody as a W 2, there's also going to be those. W 2, that's a whole other topic as well if you're going to have employees versus independent contractors, which is what a 1099 is. Okay, and then there's the whole catch-all other expenses. Okay, I hope that is helpful to go through a whole bunch of those categories. Now, there's a couple of other things I want to just talk about real quick. We've got your automobile, your car or your truck or your minivan mileage. Mileage is gold in our business. We are constantly on the go. Every one of those trips to a customer's home is tax deductible. Now, the rates change year to year. So for 2021, the rate is 56 cents a mile. For 2022, it's going up 2.5 cents to 58.5 cents per mile. You do need to have your records logged. And I know it seems really simple. Oh, yeah, absolutely. We need to know our mileage between every customer's home. But one of the most popular questions that I have received is, how do you do it if you're going to deliver to more than one customer? So let's say you've got 3 customers. It's a route. You're going to get to deduct the entire route mileage. So let's say you're going from your house to customer A, to customer B, to customer C, and then back home. That would be one mileage route. Now, if you're doing one-offs where you're going to the customer's home and then you're coming back home, both of those are counted. So for simplicity purposes, look up, and you've got to keep up records on how you're doing your deliveries. If you're doing a bunch of one-offs, it's very simple. You're going to deliver and you're going to come back. And then you're going to go back to their house to pick up and come back home. So for a lot of customers, it's 2 round trips. So that seems nice and simple. But are you keeping track of mileage, such as when you go, let's say, to the $1.25 tree to buy supplies for the cute little mini bouquets that you're making, or for goodie bags, or for swag bags? That mileage is also deductible. Let's say you're going to the bank for business purposes, that's deductible. Are you going over to the UPS store? That's deductible. Anytime you are getting in your vehicle to drive somewhere for business, it's a deductible. So this is important to look at your calendar. Log where you're going every single time you get in the car, and make sure you have some sort of tracker. A lot of people like to do it on Excel. A lot of people do it in Google Sheets. Some people have a mileage tracker app on their phone. Whatever you do, it's important to follow that and keep it together, because it is not just mileage for your customer orders. That's super, super important. If you were to think about in the last month, where all did you travel to for business? Then take out all of the customer orders. Where all did you go? I bet you there's at least one place you traveled to that was not specifically to deliver signs or pick up signs. So think about that. You're leaving money on the table, and this is legal money that you're leaving on the table when you don't do that. All right, next up, your home office. This is super important that you figure out if you have a home office. And I don't mean something you call your home office. For the IRS purposes, you've got to meet certain requirements. And I have those written out here. It's got to be used for regular and exclusive use. That means the office space is not being used for another purpose. So let's take the spare bedroom. If the spare bedroom is the guest bedroom, but you also have your office set up in there, that actually does not qualify as a home office. That might be a surprise to you, but here's what would qualify. There is no bed in there. It is set up solely as an office. There's no toys in there. There is nothing personal in that office. It is 100% exclusively used for your business. You could have 5,000 signs in there. That's legit. That's officially your business office. But if you're using it for a craft room or a bedroom or anything else, maybe you homeschool, maybe that's your homeschool room, that unfortunately does not count as a home office. Number two is it's also got to be your principal place of business. Now, for most of our industry, we work out of our homes. With that, that means it's our principal place of business. But if you have a separate office down the street, 2 miles away, maybe you have a storefront, then this is probably not going to qualify as a home office requirement for you. Now, what I've done here is I've also linked a few of the articles for you. Now, when we dive in, I'm going to show you the Schedule C. And one of the things everybody needs on their Schedule C is their business activity code. And when I share my screen again and show you all of this, there's, I swear, 200 codes there. We've gone and I have spoken with our QuickBooks tax advisor, and she has given us the code to make it simple. She also owns a yard card rental business, so she does understand what our needs are. And that code is 532289. 532289, and that is called the All Other Consumer Goods Rental. So I hope that's helpful. And then here's the links for the mileage and then the home office requirements. We also have a spreadsheet for you, and I'll share the spreadsheet here in just a moment and give you a tour of it. It's a basic spreadsheet because we're just trying to get you started. And then I'll give you some examples as well. And then when you get your guide, you'll be able to just click on the link and go to the Google Drive and save your own copy. All right. Now, we also have included in the guide a copy of a Schedule C. And I'm not going to go through all of that, but that is the official Schedule C. You will have other forms you'll need to fill out. And I do highly recommend talking with a tax professional sooner versus later to make sure you are prepared when you get in touch with them with all of the right records. I also put together some additional resources from the IRS. Like I said, I've spent a lot of time on the IRS website learning so much. I've only included a few things here, but I promise you there's so much more. So we've got the Schedule C instructions. We've also, we didn't talk about it, but self-employment tax, that's a whole other training, right? Make sure you read up on what's required for self-employment tax. You may have a partner. If you are in a partnership, you will not be using a Schedule C. You will have your own form. And then what I already should have mentioned is the EIN. Everybody in business needs to have an employer identification number. And it's free and it's easy to get over on the IRS website. You will need that for all of your IRS forms. And one of the ways we're able to give you updates is through our podcast. So if you aren't already subscribed, please go over to your favorite podcast platform and search for the Yard Card School podcast. And we are trying to provide value and bring you the information that you want to learn about. All right. You can also go and you can find us over on all of our social platforms. We've got Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Now, I will tell you, YouTube, we are really working to start bringing more value into our YouTube channel. So we really hope you'll subscribe there. Where we are most active is over on Facebook. It's super fun because I can pop in, we can do a weekly show, we can have a conversation together and interact. And so we do a lot of trainings over there and provide a lot of useful tips and fun facts. So make sure you go over there. All right, so this is it for the guide. And the next thing I am going to do, let me see here for 1 second. All right, I'm back. I am super hopeful that some of that information is helpful for you, because that's exactly our mission here at the Yard Card Association. The next thing I want to do is I am going to show you the spreadsheet. So I'm going to share my screen again, and we're going to get back to it. What are you thinking so far? Have you taken any notes? I am always taking notes, and I have my clipboard here. I even have my notebook, right? Because we've got to always be learning. It's super important for us. All right, let me share my screen and get back to it here. Give me just 1 second. All right, are you ready? Here we go. Okay. We created this business expense spreadsheet, and it's over in Google. And so Google Sheets is free. You just need a Google account, and I bet you have a Google account. You can also download it if you have Microsoft Excel. Excel is my favorite platform, but because Google is something everybody has access to, this is what we are using. And I'll show you what this looks like. Here we go. So you can see we have you covered here. And again, just remember that all of this information is for informational purposes only. We are not tax professionals, nor do we pretend to be one. Okay, so what we've done here is I've taken this exact list. I'm going to delete my numbers here because we're going to go over those. Like we have advertising and bank fees and credit card merchant processing fees. You'll remember this list from the categories in the guide. What you want to do though is you're going to need to go in and actually come up with the tally, right? Tally up all the numbers. So I've created some examples. We're going to go over here to advertising. And here's some of my examples. I bought my domain name from GoDaddy. And these are just hypothetical numbers that I'm making up, you all, just FYI. So let's say I paid $25 for my domain name. Well, then I created a website. I paid somebody to create a website, and that was $500. But then I also have to host my website because these are different tasks and different transactions. I pay $250 a year for that. Then, of course, every successful business needs to do their branding. You need your business logo. You need all the other creatives that are related to having your brand, right? You want to have a strong brand. So there's $500 for branding. Now, of course, you need to run some ads to really make your business successful. So Facebook ads, how much did you spend on Facebook ads? Let's say $1,000. Google, Mr. Google is our friend. We want to make sure we love on Google because we want Google to love on us. So let's say we spent $500 in Google ads. Directories, are you on any business directories? If you're not, you absolutely should be. So let's say you're on flamingo.com or the yardcarddirectory.com or yardwowza.com or yardsignsearch.com. There's a number of directories out there these days, and it is very important for you to have external links that are directing people over to you. All right, other things that count for advertising: marketing materials, your business cards, your door hangers, postcards. If you are leaving note cards behind where you're writing maybe a sweet little note, if you've got it branded, every single thing you do like this should have your logo on it. That's a marketing material. That's going to be here. Now, let's say you have pens and magnets and cute little mugs, maybe some tote bags. What else do you have that's got your promotional brand on it? This isn't just Dollar Tree pens that you buy. This is more stuff that has your name on it. That's your promotional items. Okay, here's another one. Your clothing. Do you have shirts that have your business name on it? If so, they are tax deductible. However, here's a caveat to it. If you go buy shirts, let's say I go to JCPenney and I happen to really like their selection, and one of my branding colors is pink. So I buy lots of pink specifically for business. I buy my pink shirt at JCPenney. That is not a business expense. However, let's say I go over to Joyful Designs and I purchase a branded shirt from them. That is then branded clothing that is covered under your advertising expense. Now, let's say I take my pink shirt that I bought from JCPenney and I took it to my local embroidery shop and I got my business name embroidered on it. The embroidery service is tax deductible and does count under the advertising expense. If you go out and buy gloves, that is not an advertising expense. Let's say you go get custom gloves made that has your branding on it. That is an advertising expense. You get your hats made, same thing. If it's a regular hat you bought at the store, it's not an advertising expense. That's not tax deductible at all. But if you get a custom hat made with your branding on it, there you go. Okay. So what I did here, and I pick on advertising because that is where you should have a good portion of your budget allotted for. So I've tallied all these up, right? I've got that. Let me show you this. If you're not familiar with how to use anything in a spreadsheet, let me show you this. So I'm going to delete that because I'm going to show you how to do this. We're going to come over here to this funny little E. This is the functions, and we're going to click sum. When I click sum, it's going to ask us, well, what do you want to tally up? I'm going to highlight all of the places I want to tally up, and then I'm going to hit enter. Boom, it tallied it up for us. Now, if you're in Excel, there's a lot more advanced features in Excel, but I'm keeping it basic for us. So we're going to take that amount, $39.25. We're going to go over here to our list. Oh, look, where do we need to put that? Right there, $39.25. Boom, we've got that. And then we're going to come back over and we are going to keep going at it. We've got subscriptions and dues and memberships. We're going to tally that up. I did the same thing. So we've got 646. We're going to go down here to dues and memberships, 646. All right. I think you see the point here. Where are you getting all of these line items, as I like to call them? You're getting these from those CSV files when you downloaded those statements. Now, this might totally blow your mind because it's kind of complicated, but I'm going to show you another example from a yard card business that's doing it in Excel. So let's see if we can make this work. All right, I'm switching over here to Excel because this happens to be where I'm a lot more comfortable with it. Okay, so here we go. Let's go up here. We've got a lot of different expenses, a lot of different categories here. But what I want to do ultimately, let's see here, is show you. There we go. I'm going to show you all of these different things right here. This is all based on lots of different transactions. So this is what an actual credit card statement would look like. When you do that, how nice and neat is that? When you do that, you can see, let's just pick here. I'm going to pick one. I'm going to pick on subscriptions. So with subscriptions, you can tally all of these up together and you can see how to do that. All right. So when you have this on your actual, here we go. We'll get down here to supplies. So for supplies, you can see a bunch of different vendors. We've got the Dollar Tree, Amy's Yard Cards, Epic Print Concepts, Front Yard Friends, Michael's. Let's see, we've got Sign Warehouse, we've got Victory Store, Yard Card Depot. These are just some examples. So here's how to do this. I like to tally it up over here on the side and make a different column that's a totals column. And you can do this however you want, but this is just one of the ways I like to do it. So just to show you how to do this, what I want to do is I'm going to go up here to auto sum. I'm going to click auto sum. It's going to ask me what cells to do. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to highlight because I already have everything categorized and I want to tally up all the supplies. So I'm going to click that, boom, and let's see what that tally is. So I know off of this specific credit card, it's 307687. All right. And so you can go through here. The most important thing you do is to tally it up and have everything categorized. When you have things categorized, life is so much better. All right. I'm going to come back over here. Maybe. Here we are. I'm back again. So I hope that is super helpful. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you about, let me just check my notes here, is how in the world to get the guide and the spreadsheet, right? Because I want you to be able to access this. So I'm somewhere in the description here. I'm going to give you the link. But let me just tell you, go over to our website at www.yardcardassociation.com. yardcardassociation.com. And in fact, you know what? I am going to share my screen again and show you how to actually navigate it so that you can sign up and get yours. So 1 second, let's share again. Here we go. You go to yardcardassociation.com and then you'll see my little welcome video here. Also, did you know we have the Yard Card School podcast? We hope you will go and join us by subscribing and following us. And we like to bring more information, more up-to-date information over there. We also have more courses. We have a new Getting Started course that we're bringing in. And then let's see here. All right, here we are. We've got our business expense. Here we go. Now this graphic might change by the time, depending on when you're watching this, because this is an older graphic for us. So you click on here. It's going to take you over to this page. And this is where you sign up for the business expense training. Now you're already doing the workshop, right? But you want the guide, the cheat sheet and guide, and then the spreadsheet. So you'll simply fill out this information. Now, full disclosure, this puts you on our email list and you will receive some emails from us. That is how we get communication to you. Now, once you sign up for that, you'll need to go check your spam and your promotions folders. We will be there, assuming you put in your email address properly, because sometimes typos happen. But go find us in the promotions or the social tabs or the junk mail. When you get to us, let me show you what that's going to look like. Whoopsie, hold on 1 second. Okay, when you get there, this is what the welcome email will look like, or it'll be a similar sample to this. Sometimes we change it out, but it'll be something similar to this, and you'll get a welcome, and you'll be able to download your business expense guide here, right? That's just going to open up in your default. You can also download the Excel spreadsheet right here. That's going to open up right there. Make sure when you do that, you go over here and you make a copy. All right, that'll get you on the right track. And then, of course, we've got links for you to stay in touch with us. Our Facebook page, our Yard Card School podcast, Instagram, YouTube, you name it, we've got it right there. So that's what you'll be receiving, and that's how you'll get those two downloads. I'm going to come right back at you here. I've got so many screens open, I got to click on the right tabs to get there. So anyway, I just want to thank you for tuning in and for taking your business finances seriously. There's so much regarding numbers that you need to know. And truly, when you know your numbers, you are a much more savvy entrepreneur than people that are kicking the can around. And it's important for your business success to keep on track with your numbers, because you are either profiting yourself or you're profiting somebody else every time you have a business expense. So the challenge is deciding how much of the money you have you want to let go of. The biggest problem in our industry is actually inventory sales. Now, let me just say, we've got phenomenal vendors and suppliers out there that we've never had before in the history of our industry. And the designs are exceptional. You can get anything and everything these days. The job of every vendor is to provide you with their best products. Their objective is the same as your objective as a business owner, is to increase revenue and increase income in your pocket, right? So the most legitimate business owners, the most legitimate vendors, they are not out to make a quick buck. They want you to be strategic. I want you to be strategic, because when you're strategic, you're going to be more successful. They're not trying to literally just get you to buy a $59 product and not have you as a customer because you spent so much money and you went out of business. We want you to be successful. And so when you know your finances, when you know your numbers, it's so important and it's very powerful before you decide to start buying, because we want you to be successful. And I think you want to be successful. If you're in this because you're not interested in the profit, that's a different conversation and a different objective. But 99% of entrepreneurs are here to be entrepreneurs and to create a profit. So think about that. And when you have your numbers in order, you're going to feel so much more powerful in your decisions moving forward. So I hope this helps. Make sure you go find us on all of our other platforms and stay tuned for more tips and trainings. We're really grateful to have you here and in our community. And we look forward to talking with you very, very soon. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers to your success.